Let's start with the actual data because this is pretty striking. CoinMarketCap just released their latest bullish sentiment rankings, and Kaspa is sitting at the absolute top with an 89% bullish score. That's not 85%. That's not 87%. It's 89%. That's a hard number showing overwhelming optimism. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Behind Kaspa, you've got Ondo, Aster, Pi, and XRP, all in the low 80s and high 70s range. So Kaspa isn't just winning, it's winning by a noticeable margin. It's creating separation between itself and the next tier of projects. But here's what makes this really significant. Most of these coins aren't having stellar price action. They're not bouncing off the lows. They're not showing explosive charts, but their sentiment scores are still holding up in the 80s and 70s. That tells you something crucial about the market psychology right now. The market has decoupled from pure price action. Traders aren't looking at charts and thinking, this is down, I hate it. They're looking at charts and thinking, this is down, I'm accumulating. That's a completely different mindset. That's accumulation phase. That's positioning before the move, and Kaspa is leading that charge. At 89%, KAS is essentially saying, traders believe in this project more than any other project in the entire altcoin space, regardless of current price. That's powerful. That's a signal. So the obvious question is, why Kaspa? Why isn't it some mega cap like Ethereum or, some trendy new token that just launched? Why is this specific project sitting at the very top of the sentiment board while the market is sideways? The answer is reputation plus narrative timing. Kaspa has built a track record as one of the more resilient altcoins in the space. It doesn't get the meme coin pumps. It doesn't get the AI bubble hype. It gets something different, genuine community belief mixed with real technical development. The Kaspa community isn't just bag holders hoping for a miracle. These are people who understand the tech, they understand the roadmap, they understand what the project is building, and more importantly, they're not panicking when the price dips. They're buying. There's something else happening here that's even more important. In crypto, sentiment follows narrative, and narrative often runs ahead of price. There's a story building around Kaspa that most people haven't caught on to yet. It's not on TikTok, it's not going viral on Twitter. It's in the accumulation communities, it's in the development updates, it's in the hardcore trader network. Oh, when sentiment reaches 89% during a bear market, that means the people who really know, the ones who follow development, who understand tokenomics, who track protocol updates, those folks are overwhelmingly bullish. They're not selling, they're buying. And, that's totally different from a coin that has 89% sentiment just because it got hyped on Reddit. That's fundamentals-driven optimism, and honestly, that's the kind of sentiment that tends to come before real price movements, not just quick pumps and dumps. Kaspa also benefits from being a bit of a contrarian position. It's not Bitcoin, it's not Ethereum, it's not Solana, it's not an AI coin, it's a layer 1 blockchain with some really interesting technical innovations, the kind of project that doesn't usually get mainstream attention, but absolutely dominates in trader communities when they're searching for the next move. Here's the part that most people don't get. Sentiment data is interesting when the price is doing well, but sentiment data is, honestly, revelatory when the price is struggling. That's when it matters most. Think about it logically. If Kaspa was up 50% and had 89% bullish sentiment, people would say, of course sentiment is high, the price is pumping. That's just noise. That's people chasing. But Kaspa is sitting there with the market getting absolutely slaughtered, altcoins bleeding, confidence shaken, and Kaspa has 89% bullish sentiment. That means traders are going against the short-term price action. They're looking through the current weakness at what they believe is coming next. This is the kind of positioning that precedes moves. When you see sentiment hold up during drawdowns, you're seeing conviction. You're seeing accumulation. You're seeing traders who've made a decision and are sticking to it regardless of the short-term noise. The market is rough right now. Charts are shaky. If you're looking at Kaspa's price action in isolation, you might think it's just another altcoin getting wrecked like everything else. But the sentiment data tells a different story. It tells you that beneath the surface, intelligent traders are loading bags. They're positioning themselves. They're waiting. This is exactly how multi-month rallies start. Sentiment builds. Accumulation happens. Most traders ignore the signals because they're focused on short-term charts. Then suddenly, usually when something external happens, the move starts. And by then, the people who read sentiment data 3 months ago are already positioned. What we're looking at right now with Kaspa is a setup. It's traders saying, I know things look rough on the chart today, but I believe in this project and I'm betting on the next cycle. When you see a bunch of traders making that same decision and that decision gets reflected in an 89% sentiment score, that's not coincidence. That's coordination. That's positioning. Let's talk about the actual mechanics of how sentiment converts to price because, honestly, this is where most people miss the connection. Sentiment data on CoinMarketCap isn't just one random person's opinion, it's actually aggregated data from thousands of traders. When 89% of tracked sentiment is bullish on Kaspa, that means thousands of wallets, thousands of trading accounts, thousands of traders are all signaling the same direction. These aren't people who just downloaded a trading app. These are people who are actively monitoring sentiment data, looking at rankings, and making positioning decisions based on what they see. When sentiment reaches 89% on a major tracking platform, that means the traders most likely to move first have already decided which direction they're going. Now here's the principle. Sentiment moves before price. Always. Here's why. Institutional traders, serious retail traders, people with real capital, they monitor sentiment like religious people monitor scripture. When they see a coin reaching extreme sentiment readings, they position before the move. They accumulate at current prices. They place bids below the market. They prepare their positions. By the time the casual trader looks at the chart and sees the 30% pump, the serious traders are already locked in. The 89% sentiment score on Kaspa, that's the before picture. The price chart that comes later is the after picture. We're looking at the before. This doesn't mean Kaspa is guaranteed to pump tomorrow. Sentiment can stay elevated for months before price catches up. But it does mean that if you're waiting for the price to confirm before you pay attention, you're already late. The confirmation will have already happened by the time it shows up on a daily chart. This is why reading sentiment rankings matters. You're getting a glimpse into what the people with capital are already thinking. You're getting early warning about where attention is flowing. And in crypto, attention is capital. Attention precedes money. It's important to understand that Kaspa's 89% sentiment isn't happening in a vacuum. It's happening in the context of a market that's honestly been brutal. Altcoins are down across the board. Bitcoin is choppy. Ethereum is struggling. This is the kind of environment where sentiment should be collapsing across the board. But it's not. Sentiment is actually holding up. Ondo is at the low 80s. Aster is at the high 70s. These coins are maintaining optimism during a downturn, and Kaspa is leading that charge at 89%. What this tells you is that sentiment isn't contrarian in this market. Sentiment is actually a signal of who believes in the recovery. When you see sentiment staying elevated during downturns, you're identifying the projects that will lead the next rally. Because when the market turns, the first coins to move will be the ones where sentiment was strongest during the weakness. Think about it from a trading perspective. If you're a trader and you see Kaspa at 89% sentiment while it's being beaten down with the rest of the market, what do? You start accumulating, you place your bids, you prepare your position for when the broader market turns. You're not waiting for confirmation, you're front-running it. And when hundreds of thousands of traders make that same decision, sentiment becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The sentiment reading itself attracts traders who see that number. Those traders start accumulating. That accumulation eventually hits the sell wall on the order book. The order book runs out. The price shoots up. The chart confirms what the sentiment data said 3 months earlier. If you're seeing these sentiment signals and understanding the connection to future price movement, you need to like this video right now. It takes just one click and it helps us reach more traders who are trying to stay ahead of the curve instead of chasing after moves that are already done. Plus, share this video with other people who hold Kaspa or who are watching sentiment data. They need to understand what this 89% reading actually means and how to position accordingly. And if you're not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button because we're tracking sentiment signals, chart patterns, and market positioning before it shows up on mainstream media. That's the only way to get ahead in crypto. Let's get practical about what you should actually do with this information. First, if you already hold Kaspa, the sentiment data is telling you something important. This isn't a coin that's losing conviction. This is a coin that's building strength beneath the surface. The fact that sentiment is at 89% while price is still under pressure means you're potentially sitting on a position that's about to move in your favor. That doesn't mean tomorrow. That doesn't mean next week. But the signal is there. So, if you're looking at the market trying to figure out where to position, this sentiment data is honestly a roadmap. When you see a coin at 89% bullish and every other major project is sitting at 60 to 70%, that's telling you where trader conviction is highest. That's where capital is flowing. And, that's where the next move is likely to start. Third, don't make this decision only on sentiment. Sentiment is one signal among many, look at the chart, look at the tokenomics, look at the development updates, and, yeah, look at the community too. But when sentiment is this extreme, it's not something you can just ignore. Fourth, understand that sentiment rankings are updated regularly. This 89% for Kaspa won't last forever. Either it'll convert to price and the sentiment will normalize, or it'll drop if traders lose conviction. The fact that we're capturing it at 89% right now is the signal. This is the moment to pay attention. The biggest mistake traders make is treating sentiment data like entertainment, like, oh look, this coin has high sentiment, then they move on. No, high sentiment during a bear market is the signal. That's what you're looking for. That's the setup. That's where the smart money is positioned. Kaspa at 89% bullish right now is that signal. Not tomorrow, not next month, right now. Thank you for watching this breakdown. Sentiment data is one of the most underutilized tools in the entire crypto space, and most traders treat it like a curiosity instead of a signal. You're not those traders. You're watching sentiment rankings. You're understanding what high readings mean during downturns. You're getting ahead of the curve. Kaspa is sitting at 89% bullish sentiment, and that number is going to matter when this market turns. Whether that's in 2 weeks or 2 months, the signal is clear. Traders believe in this project, and they're positioning accordingly. If you want to stay ahead of these signals, if you want to know where sentiment is building before price confirms, before mainstream media catches on, before the casual traders start buying, stay subscribed. We track these metrics, we analyze the data, and we show you what it means before it's obvious. Check out the other videos on TJ Crypto World. We've got deep dives on sentiment analysis, chart patterns, tokenomics breakdowns, and everything else you need to understand where capital is actually flowing in this market. I appreciate you watching, I appreciate the community, and I'll see you in the next breakdown.